Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Good evening from Johannesburg, South Africa. I hope you're doing very well. I hope you've had a wonderful week so far. Welcome to Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Izanga Shams. People call me Uncle Solomon. So feel free to do that also if this is your very first time. If this is your first time or you haven't visited here in a while, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Solomon's Temple. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Solomon's Temple. There are a lot of other videos there that I'm sure would bless your life. So please go check all the videos that I've had, over 100 videos of interviews, of people's stories, investigations. And we're doing that because for us, we believe in truth. You know, we run what we call the truth movement, which is just all about the truth. That's what it is. How do we bring the truth back into our lives, into my life, into your life, into the life of your family, into the life of your friends, into the life of your business, into the life of your profession, if you are a professional. So that's very important because truth, who is truth? What is the truth? That's the Lord Jesus that we all know. So it's important for us to connect and do that. Unfortunately, a lot of us struggle with truth and we have thrown it out of the window. We don't take it serious. So when you stand for truth, then you tend to step on toes. You make a lot of people uncomfortable and they get to speak. But it's all about love. You don't hate. We love people. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me. And in case you want to join our partners Telegram group, this is the number to send your name there so we can add you into our partners Telegram group. We have over 200 people there where we get to share stuff, we get to pray together, we get to encourage each other, and you get to understand what I do and how you can support what I do. And talking about support, a lot of people have been supportive, through PayPal. I have a legal case that's going on right now, and Pastor Alf Lukau wants me to go to prison. So he's taking me to court. So Pastor Alf Lukau is the pastor that was involved with the whole resurrection of Elliot. Who, not sure if did he die, didn't he die, that kind of drama around it. So he said I defamed him and he's taking me to court. But for me, it's just all about the truth. It's all about standing for the truth, right? And thank you so much. If you want to support via PayPal, SolomonTalks@yahoo.com is my PayPal details. Anywhere you are, you can support. And if you want to support locally, this is my details. You can support this locally. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Right. I see people are checking in already. Bongani is saying good evening all the way from Nelspruit. Thank you. Toko from Palaboa, all the way in Limpopo. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Sakani from Kempton Park. I see you. We got Ndobe. I think he's a father now. He said, hello, Uncle Solomon, watching from Helsinki, Finland. Wow, that's great. You're all the way in Helsinki. I've been to Helsinki once. I think I stayed there a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks, way back in Helsinki, actually. And then I flew from, what's the other airport? Is it Turku? I flew from there to Germany. We have Lucy watching from the UK. Thank you, Lucy. Ruvimbo also from the UK. Naomi from Germany. Dankisha, Naomi. Dankisha, thank you so much. Raymondo, also Raymond from Germany. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Well, tonight, not gonna waste your time. We're gonna hit we're gonna go straight and hit the story. Tonight's story is an extension and also another part of a story that I had shared twice already, and this is the build up, and this is the third installment of that story. First one, we brought Andre. Venom, we interviewed him. We brought Andre, we interviewed him, and remember the story was built around a charismatic church in the Cape Flats. in Cape Town, South Africa. Some of you guys who live outside the country, just to break it down for you, it's called New Covenant Christian Church. This is the logo of the church. Now, New Covenant Christian Church is located in the Cape Flats, in Mitchell's Plain, in the Cape Flats in Cape Town, South Africa. And the Cape Flats, or the Mitchell's Plain rather, is an area where, you know, there's quite a lot of social challenges because of history. A lot of alcohol abuse, drug abuse, prostitution, teenage pregnancy, rape, and drug trafficking, gang wars. So picture that kind of community. Of course, you know, there are a lot of problems in that kind of a community. So that's where New Covenant Christian Church is located. And that's where they've been for the last 21 years now. As you can see, that's the pastor there, Bishop Noble, and his wife. They're the ones that started it, and they are still there. Now, when I got complained around what had happened to a family, especially just that family, I'm sure there are other families, but just this family, what had happened to them whilst they were at New Covenant Christian Church, I now actually said, okay, I need to give them a right to give me their side of the story. Okay, I've had the side of the story of the family and certain members of the family who had really experienced pain, but I need to hear the other side of the story, which is the church. What do they have to say about these accusations and these allegations? So I sent them a WhatsApp message, got their WhatsApp number, sent them a WhatsApp message. You can see it there on the 17th of February, 2021. That's when I wrote this message to them, and asking them questions about some of the allegations that was stated. I didn't just send them a WhatsApp message. I also followed up on their Facebook page. I sent them a message. You can see also the date is there, 17th of February. So we're talking about what, over 2 weeks now that I actually got in touch with them. But I never really heard from them, right? They never really cared to reply me or whatever. But I heard that they actually got the message. How did I know? Because the people that I mentioned in my message that brought these allegations against them were now beginning to get threats and intimidations from, you know, the side of the church, right? Telling them why they did that, why they went out. So the church felt there's a bit of pressure and all that kind of stuff. So a few days ago, they decided to release a press statement. You know, now if you read this press statement, it's just so, it's like, it's not, I mean, for the first, it's 2 pages. I'm just showing you 1 page. It's on their Facebook page. You can go check New Covenant Christian Church Facebook page. You're going to see that there. And they're just saying about how the church started, how God gave them the vision, who they are. So 1 whole page, that's all you're talking about. And then the second page saying there's been this thing that has been rumors about them that is not true. They are not really that kind of people and all that kind of stuff, all being defensive. Remember, I gave them an opportunity for them to come and clear the air, you know, because here what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the truth together. I'm not going to say I'm a custodian, I'm the custodian of truth. Or you're not going to tell me you're the custodian of truth or somebody else, but we need to find the truth together. If we all see truth from the same perspective, fine, praise God. But if we don't, then someone is looking from a perspective that shouldn't be, not from a godly perspective. And that way we could all learn together. So tonight I actually brought in somebody who's been involved from the start of this issue. You know, somebody who's been involved from the start of this issue, and still involved right now. Let me bring her into the studio. Jenny Virginia Rousseau. Jenny is down in the Western Cape. That is the Cape Town area of South Africa. Now, Jenny have been a volunteer trauma supporter for 23 years. So she's been a volunteer trauma. When people are traumatized, situations that lead to trauma, she helps to deal with that. But her main interest and fields of expertise has been on the act of domestic violence. That's in the home, in a family, and how that violence in the home, in a family, brings trauma to children, grandchildren, the husband, the wife, whoever that may be. So she it is, as you know, it's an area that is very extremely exhausting and tasking. You know, you need to really be yourself for you to go into that kind of area. So it is important for me to mention that, just so you know who we're dealing with. And I must also say, before I actually bring her in, I must also say that Jenny is an independent trauma supporter and also counselor. She does not represent the government or any NGO or institution. She's independent. She in the case of this issue, she has received written as well as verbal consent to speak on this issue. So she's been delegated with the authority to speak on this issue. So she's not coming and behind the back of the victims and coming out here and giving information. No, that's not what's happening. So the information that she's going to share is definitely going to be authentic, truthful, and that has been experienced by the parties involved. So Jenny, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Solomon.
Yes. So I've introduced you, but just a little bit more about yourself, just so we know, in this area of field that you're chosen. What have you experienced? And I mean, you've been doing this for decades now, so I'm sure you've seen quite a lot.
Yeah, 23 years is a long time. Before that, I was working for the Department of Education. I did 2 jobs. I taught home economics and I was the school secretary as well. So what happened there was a lot of children came to me with problems that they have in their homes. Teachers sent them to me for one reason or the other. And so when I retired, I took all those files with me. Because they're confidential, I took it with me. And then I decided to go to the local police station and ask them, what do you do when victims of domestic violence comes and lay charges? Who helps them emotionally? So they had nothing. And then my family and I decided, but we're going to get in there. And so we started the trauma unit. And so I've been doing trauma supporting, some people, call it like counseling, basically the same thing. I did that for 23 years. But because it is so taxing and exhausting, and it just is a lot of work. It's not just about filling in forms to go to court or interdicts, whatever the case may be. There's a lot that go in there. So I got exhausted, and my husband said, okay, time out. I can see what you're going through, because I literally worked day and night. And so 12 years ago, I would say that I retired, and I decided to not do it anymore. I do work independently, yes, but I do have a certificate from the government, even though I'm working independently. The certificate is basically as Commissioner of Oaths. But at the bottom, they fold in there, and I thank God for that, community support worker and administration, administration, individual or person, whatever. And so I used that, and then I started working from home. And so that became even more exhausting. And that was how I started, and very particularly interested in the Domestic Violence Act. So I went for all the training, lots of training and so on. And I am. I wasn't gonna touch, a case of domestic violence ever again, but this one was unique.
Yeah. So when we talk about domestic violence, what are we looking at? Especially also the trauma that comes out of it. What are we looking at? Break it down for us so we can understand.
Okay, you get 5 forms of domestic violence. You get psychological, and then and then emotional. Then you get the harassment, and you get financial, and maintenance. And then the other one is what they would call peace letters. Peace letter is for when somebody other than your family harasses you, like your neighbor, whatever. Then you can go to court and get a letter. Then the court will send a letter to the neighbors. Domestic violence, as people know, what is you know, it ranges from hitting a child until, you know, partners beating up and assaulting each other. And most of the times people come, you know, and they have those problems. I've had people walking into the trauma unit that was bleeding, you know. I've worked with some very tough cases of domestic violence. Your first protocol, of course, that person needs to get medical attention. And then you have to slowly get that person to the point of where they will heal. The emotional abuse is, you know what, Solomon, people will tell you, victims will tell you, if my partner had just beaten me, it would have been better. But the things he's saying to me, which brings us to emotional abuse, is so it's horrible. And then psychological abuse is that thing that you know, but you cannot pinpoint it. Like you, for instance, if I can give you an example, a wife, for instance, no, and I just want to make this clear that you get both males and females who abuse. But emotional abuse is when you know, your partner would just say something to you, insult you, whatever the case may be. The psychological abuse, for instance, is if you know that your husband has been having a meal at somebody else's house, and he gets home, and you know that, but you cannot prove it. So then that becomes a lot, because it's like an insult. If you go to the police station, it is hard. If you want to lay a charge, it's very hard for the police to, you know, to open a docket, because they're going to tell you, okay, all your husband did was you suspect that he's eating somewhere. So that is very difficult. Financial abuse is when a partner or the head of the house, when he doesn't support the household at all, or just partially. And that can range from, you know, from looking after your children in a way, care for the medical expenses, make sure they have leisure activities and that kind of stuff, up to, you know, where you don't support your children. That we get a whole lot of. The harassment it speaks for itself, you know. We see that a lot. We see it on Facebook, and this is what we're dealing with here tonight. All the cases of all the forms of domestic violence. Yes.
Yeah. And just to let you guys know that Jenny, as we know, she's a trauma counselor dealing with domestic violence. That's how she got involved with this issue that happened within a church, New Covenant Christian Church in Mitchell's Plain. Now, whilst we're talking to Jenny, I'm also going to bring in N1. N1 is one of the victims, right? So I'm just going to bring him here just so he would see us and say hi, but then we're going to put N1 behind whilst I speak to Jenny, and then we're going to bring him back a little bit later. Hello, N1. How are you?
I'm good, Solomon. I'm fine, in yourself.
Good to see you. We are talking about Jenny was just breaking down some of the things she deals with when she handles family issues that has to do with domestic violence and trauma. But a little bit about yourself. You've experienced quite a lot, you know, in a church where your dad was a pastor. You right?
Yes,
a church
Uncle Solomon.
where you basically grew up, where you there was a lot of abuse by the bishop, by the bishop's wife. You were used like a slave, and your father allowed that to happen.
Yep.
We're going to talk about that later, right? But now,
Not
just
a
tell us a
problem.
little bit about yourself. How old are you, and what do you do? Just so we can
Uh,
put you out a little bit, and then we can speak to Jenny.
okay, so I'm Inwa Olsen, actually Inwa David Olsen. I grew up in a small town called Saron. That's where I was born. Yeah, how can I say? We can start actually. I'm 23 years old. I have two children. His name is Eli, and the daughter's name is Ileana. The one is 1 year, 1 year, 3 months, and then the other one is 3 months. Yeah, so I'm an electrician. I currently work with my uncle, Andre Scaffers, doing electrical work in Stellenbosch and Newland. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm keeping myself busy, taking my mind off things, and just focusing on family and my life in the future.
That's good. That's good. So, people watching, I'm just gonna put anyone backstage a little bit. He's gonna come and share his experience. If you listen to him, if you listen to his story, you would not believe that blood family could do that to him. A father could do that to him. You would not believe that a church that he has served over and over again. You know what a slave is? He became like a slave. So just picture that for yourself. And we're going to talk to him later, and he's going to tell us a little bit more. So I'm going to put you just backstage, okay?
Not a problem.
All right. And so, Jenny, how did you get involved in this case with New Covenant Christian Church and with N1 and his family and everybody? Do you normally just deal with church issues, or it was something that that was brought to you and you just felt, look, this is a very special case. I cannot let this go. I need to help these people.
Yes, Solomon, you are right. As I said, I retired. But what happened was that Enwa's uncle, Andre, he posted something on Facebook that has to do with the occult. And so I replied, and then I received an inbox message from him. And he stated to me that he thinks that some of his family members, it's now, it's Enwa, and then his father, who is Denver, his mother is Lucinda, that they might be involved in an occultic church, if I can put it that way. And so when I inboxed him back, he asked me if he could give my number to his sister-in-law, Enwa's mother. And I said, it's okay. And when Enwa's mother contacted me, Solomon, I could not believe that she and her children had gone through this. And I could not let it go. I had to just start, and help them, because there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. But the issues has to be dealt with first. I could not walk away from this situation. And it is not about blaming anybody, it's about addressing the issues. Now, I'm not involved in what you do, if I can put it that way, exposing practices which are not of God. I don't do that. What I actually do is, yes, I sing. I'm an artist. And so, sometimes I do motivational speaking, especially at ladies' functions. Then I do what I call teen debriefing, where you take teenagers out. They don't normally, want to speak to their parents or, whatever the case may be, because they don't feel comfortable. They're afraid of getting blamed for things and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that is what I do. And the focus always is on trying to help with the healing process.
When you came into contact with the issue at New Covenant Christian Church with this family, what was the first approach that you had to, towards it, and what did you discover that is so horrendous, regarding what happened to N1, to his mother, the actions of the father, the bishop, and some of the members of the church?
What I can say about this, and there was a lot of interaction with the family. Enwa, for instance, we're dealing with Enwa tonight. Enwa has been blamed for the problems that his father and his mother had. They had some horrible, horrible problems from the word go, from the time they got married. And Enwa was blamed as a little boy. He was blamed at 9 years old for the problem within the marriage. His father, Denver Olsen, is a senior pastor, according to the information that I have with me tonight that has been confirmed. His father's a senior pastor. But his father was not really the head of the house. His father had to take instructions from the Bishop Theo Noble. For instance, if anyone would do something wrong, okay, some of the things might have been serious, others, they were trivial issues, like he didn't do the dishes. Then what would happen is his father would phone the Bishop Theo Noble and then put the phone on speaker so that Enwa can listen to what his punishment is going to be. And
so they take instructions from the bishop for a child,
yes,
that actually didn't do anything wrong. The father now calls the bishop on the speakerphone, and then the bishop instructs to how to punish him. And what sort of punishment does he normally get?
The punishment usually is that the pastor Bishop Noble would instruct his Enwa's father to bring him to the bishop's house. There, he would get slapped around. Or
so
he will come and you'll be slapped around in the bishop's house. And then the bishop would also instruct his father to beat him up at home, so at times. And they would just walk into the house at any time. Enwa told me that he knew that every time they walked in, they were there to abuse him and his mother. According to the information that I had, the bishop and his wife were the individuals who told Enwa's father to divorce his mother. The instructions came from them. So the other forms of punishment, which is actually so sad, is that on a Sunday morning, Enwa would be slapped around again. He would be called into the into the bishop's office, and there he would get slapped. And then after that, he has to go join the pastor, the bishop and his wife. Sorry, the bishop and his wife on stage. So the bishop is there with his armor bearer, and the wife is there with her armor bearer. Her name is Patricia Noble. So then Enwa would have to remain on stage until he is called up. He has to sit there so that everybody can know that he did something wrong. He would be then called. He's a rebel. He cannot submit. He's ashamed to his father, who is a pastor. But Enver was also the sound engineer in the church, and these things were going on while he was, while he was doing the sound engineering in the church. Now, the other forms of abuse were that at times he would be taken, the bishop would ask his father to bring him or to take him to their home, Bishop Noble and his wife. They would invite guests, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of dishes, even though they have an automatic dishwasher and they have children in this age, then Enver has to do those dishes by hand.
So they will refuse to do. I mean, they have so many guests. There are so many dishes after dinner, and they will refuse to do the dishes in the dishwashing machine, even though they have a dishwashing machine, and they also have kids that could help, but nobody helped him. He has to do
nobody helped him. He had to do it all on his own, and then he had to also do things like washing the windows, cleaning the pool. He had to pick up the dog's poo, wash the dogs, things like that. And you know what? It to me it was so sad for a bishop, along with a child's father, who is a pastor, a senior pastor, to do that to any child or a young man. So those are the things that he had to do, and the instructions would come from the bishop and his wife.
And how is the Patricia Olsen, his mother, that is the pastor's wife? They are divorced now or separated. I'm not sure, but what was her role in the scheme of all of this? Was she aware of it? Was she a collaborator? Was she living under fear and just follows what Enward's dad, who is the bishop, who is the pastor, also serving under the bishop, instructs her to do?
Yes, you're talking about Enver's mother?
Yes, Patricia.
No, she is Lucinda.
Lucinda,
Enver's mother
sorry.
is Lucinda. Lucinda.
Yeah.
Lucinda, you know what? It's difficult to explain it, but Lucinda too was so brainwashed that she believed some of the things that her husband told her, who is a pastor. Like, there was a time when, and Andre spoke about this, when the pastor's wife, Lucinda, when she found condoms in the car. Before that, Enver was told that you're going to tell your mother that those are your condoms. And if you don't do that, you will be without a roof over your head.
So that's what the father told him.
That's what the father told him,
and the bishop tell the mother, because the mother found condoms in the father's car. So he wants to push the responsibility and all the guilt on anyone.
That is correct. That is what happened. And you know what? They live in government subsidized housing at Pollsmoor prison.
Okay.
And then, it's difficult for Lucinda to get out of there because, the protocol at prisons and so on. So he would go and he would tell his mother, but the condoms are mine. And then his father would even beat him up over that, the so-called condoms that he had, falsely, of course. And those were the kind of things. His mother she was never given any money. She couldn't buy toiletries. The only way that they got money was when the now 12-year-old little girl, Enwa's little sister, would ask, Daddy, do you have any money? I want to buy food. Then he would buy three or four items and tell her, listen, this has to last. Whatever Lucinda asked him he always said that you don't deserve anything. You should be glad that you have a roof over your head. The few times, there were a couple of times, I don't know how many, she was able to go to a store to go buy groceries. First of all, she had to make a list. And then she would go and buy the stuff. Once she has bought the stuff, she has to send, a WhatsApp or whatever to let her husband, to let Denver know, the senior pastor know what the cost is. And then he would pay for the groceries. She could never lay a hand on any money. But Lucinda was so brainwashed to come back to the condoms that she actually believed. And she believed for years what her husband Denver said about their son. And there was just no way she would believe otherwise. When her husband had told her something, that he had done, but told her that Enwa did. And so Enwa would have to go through all this punishment. The sad thing is that he became immune to that punishment. It is so sad. I don't know whether it was the last occasion when the bishop and his wife, Patricia, walked into the house. The wife of the bishop, Patricia, she tried to slap Enwa, and Enwa got up. So he had a plate of food in his hand. He got up, so she couldn't get to slap him in the face. So she hit the plate of food out of his hand, and it fell on the floor. That was, and this was very recently, like something like last year or so. And that was when Lucinda finally stood up and said, listen, you are not going to beat up my son anymore. So she pushed Enwa into a room and locked him in. And she pushed Patricia away, the bishop's wife away. Well, they laid a charge against Enwa. That charge is still in the court on the records, and falsely declared that Enwa fought the bishop's wife. So Lucinda finally, if I can put it that way, came to her senses during the time that, as Andre said, that they found the tapes, the videotapes of Enwa's father, Denver, having sexual interaction with some of the ladies in the church, some of them married. That was when everything came out, when Lucinda finally believed, that her husband actually was involved in all these things. And so as I said, for 16 years, Lucinda has been so badly affected. There's not a thing that she didn't go through. When they started staying at home, stopped going to church, her husband, the pastor, he changed the locks on the door and he would lock them out of the house when he goes to church. And they would stay outside for as long as half a day, as long as he decided to stay away. Then when he comes back, he unlocks the door and they could go inside. That's just the type of abuse that they were going through. But she was broken down. Lucinda had an operation. She's got a muscle disease, which is painful, which is very debilitating. I know because I have it. And she had an operation. And her husband Denver, he wouldn't pay for medication. He wouldn't make provision for her to get to a doctor. They have 5 or 6 cars. What happened was he took away one of the cars from Lucinda. And 2 days after that, Enwa saw Bishop Noble driving that car. The other thing I wanted to say is they had a very lucrative business. In both their names, they married in community of property. He moved the business, the pastor, he moved the business to an undisclosed location. The Lucinda, Enwa, they do not know where the business and how, what is going on with the business. But they cannot ask questions because the pastor made it clear, I'm the only one who says what happens in this house.
Let me bring N1 here. N1, you've been listening to Jenny, and she's been very much involved with your family and all that. Your dad is a senior pastor under Bishop Noble of New Covenant Christian Church in Mitchells Plain, Cape Town, South Africa. Is your dad really worthy to be called a pastor after hearing all this or after experiencing all that you've experienced? Should we actually call him a pastor? What kind of a man is he?
To be honest, Uncle Solomon, I don't believe, for instance, let me start like this. When I was in school, the guys or my friends always told me they see leadership skills in me. Well, I've been the first rugby captain for 2 years in a row. I've been admitted as the RCL. I would have been the head boy of my school, but I chose not to. The reason being is because I know what I'm doing wrong. So my dad has too much pride. He won't admit when he's wrong or what he's busy with. So for me, he has never been. I never saw him fit as a pastor. So to me, he was just my father and Bishop Zaraida.
What kind of a relationship does your dad has with the bishop and the church? It seems like everything, his money, his dedication, and everything is just the church. He doesn't care about his family.
Yes. Uncle Solomon, my dad, he's been a part of my life, but we never had that father and son relationship. So as a son, I've reached out quite a number of times, and as a son, you'd also like for your father to like reach out to you. So now and then, so I never received any of that, and to me, it was actually heartbreaking as a young man growing up with his father in the same house, where my friends did not see their father, they did not even know their father, and they sharing their stories with me, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, I wish that never happens to me. I wish that never happens to me. But I never knew that I would, like few laters down the road, I would be in the same boat as they are. So they've actually prepared me for this way so that I can have all the resources. And to me, it's just my father, he even told me straight that his Lord I don't know which Lord he served. I asked him, but he couldn't tell me. So he told me his Lord that he serves told him that I'm not worthy to be his son.
So
So
he
for
he
me,
told he's indirectly disowning you.
yep, he told me in my face that the Lord told him I'm not his son.
How do
You
you hear
can't
that
call
from
me
the
his
Lord?
son.
How do you hear that? How do you even put that together? First, you're a senior pastor, and then you're telling your son he's not your son. That the Lord told you that he's not your son.
I,
Like,
I I even asked him. Then clearly we're not serving the same Lord because then my God, I know don't speak such things because you're a pastor. You should be showing me the way. But look at the things you're saying or even doing. So how are you even gonna go out there to win a soul? You're just going out and messing everyone up further.
there's quite a lot of things in your story. First, when your dad accused you of doing something wrong, even though you didn't do it, he would call the bishop to give you punishment.
Yep,
What sort of
that's how I
punishment?
grew up.
What sort of punishment did you get from the bishop, and why is that? Why is it that way?
Well, I've been a naughty boy, man. As a youngster growing up, you catch on a lot of nonsense. So I was young that time, so I did a lot of things with my friends. Like your teenagers, you break windows, kicking ball around where you shouldn't be playing. Then you accidentally break a window yourself. So I grew up. If I broke a window, then I knew already. Look, here, I'm gonna take the blame because my father would hit me, but tomorrow I'll be out again playing. But if it's my friend or so, and then they would be in the house for a week or two, so I took the blame most of the time, just so I could see my friends the next day. So yeah, me growing up, the blame was I just had to take the blame. I didn't wanna like see any drama between my parents because firstly I don't want the stealing get divorced and stuff, but unfortunately they are on the road. No one knows what the future holds. That's what I always say to my friends. But yeah, I'm in their boat now, so we just need to work together and solve everything.
What's your relationship with the bishop and his family? And you were also the engineer, part of the sound guy in the church. So you served in the church for a lot of years.
Yep.
Did they acknowledge and affirm you? Did they encourage you, or you were just, because for me it seems like you were just slaving?
Yes, yes. Basically, for like when I quit on my teenage stuff, I would be punished. Firstly, I'd have to clean the dog's poo and stuff like on the Jenny shit. I have to go wash the cars, and then I have to cut the grass, clean the pool, take the dog for the walk,
That's for
and
the bishop.
yes, for the bishop,
So
for
you
the
do
bishop.
anything wrong, you go and get punished by the bishop by doing his
Yes,
housework, and cutting the grass and everything. Yeah.
yes. Even at our own house, if I didn't like tonight, if I didn't clean the dishes, or if I just forgot to clean the dishes, or even just take my father's own dogs for a walk, because but over the years he loved dogs. He started off at Portsmouth as a dog trainer, so he's very disciplined in a sense that how can I say he didn't know when to leave work at work, so he'd always bring the work home as well. So then he would discipline me in a way that he's disciplining the dogs or the guys, the inmates he's working with. So that's how I grew up the hard way.
Hmm. Hmm. And you saw quite a lot. Some of the things that your dad accused you of, like Jenny mentioned, uh, the mom found condoms in your dad's car, and your dad said, "No, it's you must claim that those are your condoms." What really happened? Why did you even get there? Was that the
Over
first
the
time you saw condoms? And what are some of the things that
no,
you've seen that was suspicious that you know your dad? Have you seen your dad with other women and all that kind of stuff? I mean, he's a pastor. He's a senior pastor.
yep. So over the years, I always had a best friend, Radwine, and then there's also other friends also in my church that I was very close with, which is Brandon, Casey, and then Elrich. We broke up, not broke up, but we broke away since I left church, and when a member leaves the church, the bishop always bans him out and say that the person started a rumor. So when I left, the bishop blamed me for starting a rumor that happened or that was a rumor since the day we set foot in that church, and that was plus minus 17 years ago. Now this rumor has been running, saying that the bishop has a daughter with or a child, in fact, with a worship team leader. Now this worship team leader is not in South Africa no more. So I asked my uncle, look here, is this actually true? Because I've been here for 17 years, so I would like to know, is this true? And my uncle told me, we can't talk about this because they're gonna say we starting a rumor, and that's what happened. They went to say that I started the rumor, but that's the rumor that's been running or is still going on for over the years. People leave, the people get blamed, and the people get said that they the rebels or they do this or that. But then I wanna get to the root of everything. I wanna know what is the cause and why are you covering up if it's not like he says it's not his child, then why don't they just go for the test and then everyone can know and then there's a rumor can die for once and for all? Because I'm sure that if there's a next person that's gonna leave or stand up against a bishop in the church and they leave, the blame is gonna be put on them for they started the same rumor that I started. So it's a cycle that's continuing for years and years, but no one had the courage or the boldness to stand up.
Mm, mm. Now, with your mother, what was the relationship? I mean, you were caught in between your dad and your mom. There's this whole thing, and you have to go to church, and you guys were going to church every time, you know? Um, what was it like for your mother from your perspective as a son?
To be honest, it was hard for my mommy. As it's hard for me, it was hard for her as well. Um, we, how can I say, we come from a small town, Sharon. Uh, we we Afrikaans. If I, yeah, we Afrikaans. We VGK. That's a church we used to belong to. So when we moved, it was something totally different. We never, my daddy never allowed us or gave us that freedom to visit the church where you feel comfortable and where you can adapt to. We so for the over the years we were basically just forced. We just had to go where he goes. If not, then it would be trouble at home. So for the few years it was like that, and since I met my fiance, that's when I started breaking away and actually visiting other churches. And when I did that, and then I saw but the problems just come becoming more and more because they do not want you to to interact with other people,
Mm,
even if it's your own family. They would tell you, or in fact, even when myself and my mother would want to go down to her mother, my recently my dad's mom passed away. If we had to, as families, want to go down to them to visit, even if it's just for a day or a week over the weekend, we had to ask the bishop for permission to leave. If not, then all hell would be loose in the church if we come back the Sunday. So over the years, we just went with the flow. But everyone has a limit, and unfortunately, I had enough. I had enough of everything. So I just need to let go, and the more I speak about it, the more I'm just letting myself free.
and you suspected your dad's relationship with the women, or is this something that you saw with your eye?
I've seen it quite a few times. Even my friends told me about it, but I didn't want to believe it. Um, there was even sometimes, most of the times when on a Sunday we'd have two services, and in the evening service at night which starts at 5. So after the first service Sunday morning, I would be gone, and my friends, I would obviously take them with me so they can lunch over by us. So then in the night, we just come back to church. So now, every now and then, when we go to church, we come back, then my friends would drive with me must now after Sunday morning service. On our way home, then my friend or Dwayne would sit at the back. And then there was one incident where he actually saw my father on the phone chatting to another woman while my mother is sitting next to him. And he told me about it, but I told him, no, man, you're lying. Don't lie. Now, as happened over the years, I also told myself, maybe I'm just seeing stuff. Maybe it's not what I'm seeing. It can't be my father. That I don't see he can do these kind of things.
Mm,
Because for me, as a man, to do that to another woman, because it's only out of a woman that a leader is born. There's only two things that can happen to a child when he's born. It's either he can become a gang member or he can make a success out of his life. And that's why I would say we as men, we can't stand before the woman and fight against them. We as men need to stand behind our woman and keep the fist up and say, baby, I got you, man. Let's face this world. Let's tackle this world together. Now, my
mm,
father he's never been that role model to me. So I have uncles that I look up to and uncles that encourage me. People that I literally did not see over the years or been in contact with over the years. People that in such a short time we have such a great relationship that we never had, that I never thought I would have. People that I never saw. Now I'm seeing them because I've broke myself free from that kept me hostage or that kept that bond around me. So to me, I've seen the videos of my father, even with one of my friends, his mother, and the literally just broke me when I saw for with my own eyes what I've really didn't want to see or what I thought of, but I didn't want to believe it. And yeah, I have the proof, but this is what's been happening over the years. As a child, as a young man, it's quite sad to see your own father doing this towards your own mother.
mm. So, Jenny, back to you. Um, for you, Jenny, what is the way forward here? What have you noted and what have you seen? And
Mhm.
how, in what way has the family been helped? Uh, and where to from here, basically?
All right. I have not worked with Inwa's mother yet, only by, via WhatsApp and so on. But we've had some very deep chats and so on. So I will start working with a person, on a personal level. There are few cases of domestic violence, in this whole in the whole matter. And so I decided, I said, okay, to Lucinda, I will start working with you after all that is over with, so that we see what the courts did, and I can take it from there. As far as Inwa was damaged. He's been badly damaged. I've spoken to him, and I have hardly scratched the surface with this young man. He's a beautiful young man. He's got a good personality. He's got leadership skills. I mean, he's a father, and he's a good father. Um, and I will continue to work with him. The purpose, of course, is to get him to the little bit that I can do to help him heal and give him the steps. And as I said to you, it's very hard because there's the one time that the bishop mentioned to him in Afrikaans that ek gaan jou plat maak, which means I'm going to get people to beat you up. And so he has to be so careful, and we have to look up, out the safety also. Safety measures has to be put into place. But Solomon, you know what? That altar that Bishop Noble and his wife, that New Covenant Christian Church has, and all the other churches, are this same altars we bring our children to be dedicated. And as parents, we have to make that vow before God that we will raise them, in according to the will of God, and then to go back and break them down again. And I was thinking, this is the same thing that happens in Satanism. The pentagram that they stand on, the high priest stand on, that is their altar. And that is where they build up and they kill, they break down, And so this is such a very sad situation. So the way forward is to just work with Inwa, because he has not dealt with, just a little bit, just by getting him to talk about these things. That is how far we are at the moment. But I'm going to keep doing the sessions with him to help him heal. As I said, I'm a trauma supporter. I'm not a professional psychologist, whatever the case may be. The training what I have is in trauma supporting, which is similar to counseling. And I will keep seeing him. As I said, we've just basically scratched the surface here.
What would you say, or how would you say this has damaged Enwa? What are some of the areas that you see him struggling in today, that it was from the experiences from the church, in the hands of the bishop, in the hands of the kind of father that he had, and also the kind of family that he came from?
And was fear now in his frustration is the fact that he knows that his mother is going through things, but he feels helpless. He cannot help her. They are not used to going to court, be in the court system and those kind of things. And he feels so helpless. This is on his mind all the time. He wants to protect his mother, but he cannot be there. So that puts a lot of strain on him. Andre mentioned about him just totally losing it the other day, which is normal. And that tells me that we have to start from scratch, working with Enwa, so that, the healing process can take place. And I want for it to be, I hope that the little bit I'm contributing will help.
Anyway, you were struggling today. You were just 23, and you know what you've been through. What are you doing for yourself to also ensure that you become a better person? I know that you made mistakes as a teenager, obviously, like you said, but some of the stuff, your experiences, was not self-inflicted. You was inflicted by the kind of spiritual leadership you had at New Covenant, the bishop and his wife Patricia, to your dad, who is a pastor also at New Covenant. What do you, as a young man, what do you need to do? Is that the end of your rugby? Is your spiritual life? What are you doing today that you know you're not supposed to, that you're gonna do your best, even if it's difficult, to quit it, because you have 2 kids now, right? So you have to take care of them, not just by working, but by your behavior, by your values, by the things that you do when the kids don't even see you or know what you're doing. Because I wouldn't want a situation where the way your father treated you, that's how you're going to treat your kids and your wife.
No, gosh, that won't happen. Basically now, I'm not at the church at the moment. Reason being, I've seen a lot of broken people come to church. Well, I was broken too once upon a time. That's why I went to church, because For me, a church is where you get your healing. But what I've been through, I've been received much brokenness in actually healing. Like at the moment, I find myself where I don't know where to go no more, who to ask for help for. People that I thought was my friends or that helped me along the way, they turned their back against me, or they went against me and say no, they never spoke to me. And that happens only when they receive one call from the bishop, and then they would listen to the bishop. So when you asked about the rugby, yes, I'm definitely starting to play this year again very soon. I need to take my mind off a few things. And I have a lot of stress. I am seeing somebody that I speak to, like on the Jenny, that helps me to communicate more, and it actually helps. But the place where I find my joy most, or in fact, the place where I love releasing my stress, is on the rugby field. Um, Not in a bad way, but it's a sport. It's a physical sport. So for me to get physical in a sport is better than to fight. So I would rather take out my stress on a game and then go out and fight all my enemies. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna start playing the game soon, and my way forward is just I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to be on my own feet. I It's not bad to depend on people, but you can't always depend on people because disappointments happens. So I would like to sooner or later take over the company as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Jenny, last thing from you. How would you advise other families or family members that are experiencing this sort of abuse, if I can call it spiritual abuse, physical abuse within the setup of a church? How would you advise?
Speak to somebody who is not going to judge you. If you have friends, you will find out very soon if you have a problem. Those who are not there for you, let them go. Sometimes you have to let people go if you feel you cannot trust them. The first step would be to just talk to somebody who can probably refer you, give you some guidance as to some resources and so on. But do not live with things and let it go too far. It doesn't matter what it is, even if you get one slap by your husband, then you know he's going to be, he is aggressive. Reach out to somebody. Some people think, some victims think that when they get slapped, that their husband actually loves them. That is why he's showing that extra interest in, in me by coming close physically. It's bad, but this is just how it is. Speak to somebody. It's sad that Ingo could not go to his bishop and the wife. It is very, very sad. But you have to find somebody that you can trust.
Thank you, Jenny. And Anwar, any last word from you, Anwar?
To be honest, I just want this whole story just to be over with, man. I'm tired of the storm that I'm in. I know the Lord gives the tougher storms to his tougher soldiers, so I'm pretty sure I'm one of those tough soldiers that's gonna overcome the storm. With him in my boat, I don't think any storm is gonna be in my way. So for those that do find themselves in a church within the situation where I'm in, where a pastor have more influence in your own house, and where you as the family do not have the right to ask. If you ask the why, then you would be called a rebel. So if you do have pastors like that, that that's controlling your life too much, in a sense where they would tell you or insist of you what to give, how much to give, because my Bible tells me that you should give it to free heart. So if your pastor is on the altar pulpit and he's saying how much you're giving, how much to give, or how much you should give for tithing, then it's demand giving. Then you're not giving it to free heart. So then you're not showing it with the right spirit as well. So then with by that you're actually opening doors for the enemy to come in. So if you do find yourself in a church like that, just open your eyes and remove yourself. That's what I did, and for me it's the best to do. I'm not at the church at the moment. I do visit churches. I'm still trying to find my church. I didn't visit now recently because of COVID, and I have two kids, so I do not want to leave my family at home alone. So we as a family need to go to a church, and I'm pretty sure I will find a good home for me and my family.
Thank you, Anwar. And thank you, Jenny. Anwar, we pray that God, a lot of people here are praying and just commenting, but we pray that God will heal you. You're still young, and we pray that you will find healing to a certain level. And God would not allow your brokenness to be and cause pain to you and your families and your friends. Your uncle Andre has been helpful, and we thank him also for that. But we pray that you will find healing, that the experiences, sometimes what we experience breaks us, or what we experience makes us. But in your case, may it make you a better person, that you would not never, ever tolerate things like manipulation, things like lying, things like adultery, because you've seen it, and you've seen how it has destroyed people, and it has destroyed people around that person. So we pray for you that, you would really raise up the leadership abilities and the leadership character and attributes that you have. May God use it for his glory. And thank you, Jenny, for just being there, for taking this mantle. Not everybody would want to do what you're doing. Not everybody would go out of their ways. What you're doing is a risk, because who we're dealing with here are people that would easily say, I'm going to sue you, or they're going to threaten you with people to come take you up and all that. That's who they are. But thank you for being a part of, allowing yourself to be used by God to start a process or to continue a process in their lives. And we pray that God will continue to bless you.
Thank you, Solomon. It was very nice chatting to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to say to everybody, please share these videos wherever you are, just so people will get to know about it, and people would watch it and really get inspired by these stories, and also get some sort of boldness for them to speak out. Actually, talking to you now, somebody is just sending me messages in my inbox, telling me, look, I have so much bitterness that I need to share, because he's been watching you guys here. He could relate to a lot of the experiences that he has gone through because of you being here and really sharing this. And that's what it's all about. That's why we need to share, we need to put it out there, because there's a lot of people that went through, that can connect to what you've been through. You're not the only one. People who have been sitting with it for 20 years and it's just eating them every day, but they've not been able to come out and say, look, hey, I need to really talk about these things. Like Jenny said, talk about these things, see a counselor or somebody and talk about these things. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and make sure you share this with everyone. I really appreciate every one of you, wherever you are. Have a great day.